Shri Guru Vaishnava Paramakriya Shri Guru Vaishnava Paramakriya Shri Guru Vaishnava Paramakriya Shri Guru Vaishnava Paramakriya Sankirtana Kore Nartamata Sankirtana Kore Nartamata Sankirtana Kore Nartamata Sankirtana Kore
Hare Krishna. Hare.
All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Shri Varadari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasoda Nandana Vrajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Vrajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Prasoda Nandana Vrajana Ranjana Prasoda Nandana Vrajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya So we're reading 3rd Canto Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 22, text 33. 34. Nishnatam yogamayashu munim svayam bhuvam manum yadabra samsaitum boga Na Sekur Bhagavat Param Nishnatam Yogamayashu Munim Svayam Bhuvam Manum Yada Brabhasam Saitum Bhoga Na Sekur Bhagavat Param Nishnatam Yogamayashu Munim Svayam Bhuvam Manum Yada Saitum Bhoga Nasekur Bhagavat Param
Nishnatam Yogamayasu
Nishnatam Yogamayasu
Unim Swayambhuvam Munum Alabram Shaitum Bhoga Shekur Bhagavat Param
Nishnatam yogamayashu Nim swayambhuvam manum Yad abram shayatum bhoga Shekur bhagavat param
Nishnatam Yogamayasu Munim Swayambhum Manum Yad Abram Shayitam Bhoga Na Shekur Bhagavat Param
Munim Swayam Bhavam Munum Yat Abram Shaitum Bhoga Yadabra Sayatam Bhoga Nashekur Bhagavat Param Shekur Bhagavat Param
Nishnatam Yogamayasu
Nishtatam Yogamayastu
Munim Swayambhuvam
Munim Swayam Bhavam Munum
Yad Abram Shayitam Bhoga
Yadabra Sayatam Bhoga
Nashekur Bhagavat Param
Nasekur Bhagavat Param
Nishnatam yogamayasu
Nishnatam Yogamayasu
Munim swayambhuvam manum
Munim Svayam Bhuvam Munum
Yad abram shayatum bhoga
Yadabra Sayatam Bhoga
Nashekur bhagavat param
Nasekur Bhagavat Param
Nishnatam Yogamayasu
Nishnatam Yogamayasu
Munim Svayambhuvam Manu
Munim Svayam Bhuvam Munum
Yadabram Shatum
Yadabra Sayatam Bhoga
Shekhi Bhagavat
Nasekur Bhagavat Param
Online.
Nishnatam Yogamayasu
Nishnatam Yogamayasu
Munim Svayambhuvam Manu
Munim Svayam Bhuvam Munum
Yadabram Shaitum Bhoga
Yadabram Shayatam Bhoga
Nashekur Bhagavat Param
Nashekur Bhagavat Param
Nishnatam Yogamayasu
Nishnatam Yogamayasu
Munim Swayambhuvam Manum
Munim Svayam Bhuvam Munum
Yadabram Shayitim Bhoga
Yadabram Shayatam Bhoga
Nashekur Bhagavat Param
Nasekur Bhagavat Param. That's everyone. We'll chat word by word. Nishnatam. Absorbed. Yogamayashu. In temporary enjoyment. Munim, who was equal to a saint. Svayambhuvam. Svayambhuva. Manu, Yat, from which? Abram Sayutum, to cause to deviate. Bogha, material enjoyments. Na, not. Seku Rabel, Bhagavat Param, who was a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Thus, Swayambhuva Manu was a saintly king. Although absorbed in material happiness, he was not dragged to the lowest grade of life, for he always enjoyed his material happiness in a Krishna-conscious atmosphere. The kingly happiness of material enjoyment generally drags one to the lowest grade of life, namely degradation to animal life, because of unrestricted sense enjoyment. But Swayambhuva Manu was considered as good as a saintly sage, because the atmosphere created in his kingdom and home was completely Krishna conscious. The case is similar with the conditioned souls in general. They have come to this material world for sense gratification, but if they're able to create a Krishna conscious atmosphere as depicted here, or as prescribed in revealed scriptures by temple worship and household deity worship, then in spite of their material enjoyment, they can make advancement in pure Krishna consciousness without a doubt. At the present moment, modern civilization is too much attached to the material way of life or sense gratification. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement can give the people in general the best opportunity to utilize their human life in the midst of material enjoyment. Krishna consciousness does not stop them in their propensity for material enjoyment, but simply regulates their habits in the life of sense enjoyment. In spite of their enjoying the material advantages, they can be liberated in this very life by practicing Krishna consciousness by the simple method of chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yeah, so the one thing that came to mind this morning was the Prabhupada talks about how Bhaktisiddhanta he had narrated this, don't live and don't die. So there were some sons. The one son was the son of a saintly king or a ruler. And the saintly person told him that better you die. Don't live, better you die. And then there was the son of a brahmana, and he was telling him, let's see, you live, you don't die. Right? You live, you don't die. And then he was telling the devotee, yeah, it doesn't matter if you live or die, better you just die. Right? And then he was telling the son of a butcher, don't live and don't die. Right? So they're saying, well, what's he saying here? So for the son of the king who's attached to material enjoyment and opulence, and so much sense gratification is available to him. Prabhupada was saying, so the animals, the pigeons even do that. They were saying you can have sex like 3 times an hour, and you're going like pigeons can even do that. So they're saying better you just better to instead of going on with all your sense gratification, it's better that you just don't die. You go to hellish planets or animal species. And so then the son of the Muni, they were saying, no, what are you saying? Say, well, Maharaj wants to make a comment. Yeah,
Maharaj? Ready?
Son of the king, he said, you better live a long time. Prince. Because he's enjoying now, but after he dies, he has to pay for the karma, so better live a long life now.
yeah, go out there. Suffer for all that karma, don't be suffering. So better, better you just have a long life and just don't die. Right? And so then, now the son of the Muni, he was telling him, what was the reason for that? Well, there was, what do you tell the Muni? Don't live and don't die, son of the Muni. But he was telling the devotee, Don't just give up all this nonsense. Go back home, back to Godhead. Better you don't live and become attached together in the material world, but you just die and go back home, back to Godhead, right? And then he was telling the son of the butcher, um,
he can live or die. It doesn't make any difference because if he's living, he'll be engaged in Krishna consciousness and he'll be in bliss. And if he dies, he'll go back home, back to Godhead. So he'll be in bliss that way too, both ways. For the son of a Brahmin, he should die early because he's undergoing these austerities now. But after he gives up his body, he'll go back to Godhead, so it'll be worth it. So what's the use in staying around? Better let him go back now. And the hunter, or the son of a hunter, he's better off he doesn't live or die because he's in hell now, dealing with all the slaughtered animals, so much sinful activity, and his future is also very, very grim. So he shouldn't live or die.
that's what the butcher is. You have to suffer for every hair on his arm. How about the birds, right? They, their hairs, they're the threads of the feathers, right? They have all the feathers that have all those, yes, same kind of stuff, just kind of covered over differently. You know, the animals they're covered over, they don't have the animals that don't have hands, so they have to do everything with their mouth, right? And what I said was the animals that do have hands. Let's see, animals without hands are food for the animals with hands, right? There was so there's like a lot of different the simian races, right? The monkeys. That's why the scientists are trying to say that humans evolved from the primates because they kind of resemble with their hands. Some of these human species on life, I think they're actually really animals, but they just mimic humans, right? But they can still go to school, they can still go to work, they still have their homes, they still look like regular people. Oh, but yeah, that's just it. It's just a modern sinful demoniac society. They're just simply animals in the human form of life. They're simply big animals. And it goes to show too. Big bears. These people are taking on some interesting shapes, right? Ostriches, bears. The ant person, they're talking about the guy like Atlas. He has the world on his shoulders. He thinks by his own strength, he can do everything, probably even save himself from death by his own strength. You know, they had like different characteristics of different people. An ant can lift like what 100 times its own weight or something. So they were talking about like the ant person, Mr. Atlas. He's doing all the weights, big giant championship. Basically, there's a real problem with that. You build your body up like that, you need to break it all back down too. You need to take it all off. That's not taken into consideration. When you're like Mr. World Atlas, he's got to peel down at some point. And that was the thing, like Rockefeller, right? He can only just eat some soup. He couldn't he enjoyed this big, giant, massive wealth and big family, but he couldn't enjoy it. He was sick all the time. He could only have some soup. And so, yeah, that's the plight. What is it? It was they were calling these. Oh yeah, twisted tales of fate. Right. Like you get your desire, right, but you get it in a way which that desire is facilitated within any of the forms within 8,400,000 species of life and in hellish planets and in hellish conditions. And then, so yeah, so I was looking up Swambhuva Manu, Ishkan, Srila Prabhupada Mani, what we say about Swambhuva Manu and his history, and because that was another point I wanted to make, is that we're discussing something that took place in the first millennium when Brahma first created the universe in the Satya Yuga. So right now, Brahma is 50 years old, so this universe has gone halfway through its duration, when Brahma's full duration is 100 years. So we're talking about something that took place 1.5 trillion years ago. When Brahma's life is like 3 trillion, 11 million. Right? So this, and everything still holds up. So this specific Manu, there's 14 Manus within a day of Brahma. And Swambhuva Manu was the first Manu, and he actually he wrote the Manu Samhita, which provides moral codes, spiritual religious codes, your external material duty, liberation, and the code of laws for mankind to abide by. So that's what the Manu Samhita is all about. Yeah, it mentions that capital punishment is good. It's actually like a mercy killing, because this to be relieved from a good portion of his karma for the murder of another person by being murdered, by giving up his life. Obviously, used to think, punished. What do you think? Punished? They'll be dead. There'll be nothing left for him to punish. That's what I used to think when I was a little kid. But apparently that's all Maya. I guess that's what kind of like what they're thinking about when they abolished the death penalty. There's still some states that they still have the death penalty. I think they've been messing with some stuff, but apparently the guillotine's really, really fast. And so it's considered actually fast and painless. But there's some other where they hung Saddam Hussein. I was surprised that they still did hangings, even in the Middle East. But they didn't keep him in protective custody. They handed him over to his enemies. I thought that was kind of strange too, because generally they put him in protective custody, so they handed him over to his enemies. So it seems kind of barbaric. We're supposed to be civilized person. That was stuff in the past, a long time ago. You know what I mean? But apparently not. Apparently the stuff's still going on. And oh yeah, so they have something called lethal injection. I thought that was like really good. Or they just give you a shot and it's like an overdose, you die or something. But wrong. It's a series of shots, very, very painful. They're slowly shutting your body down until you finally die. Not good. Not a good thing. Especially when you talk about all kinds of chemicals and drugs and stuff. Not a good thing. So in the case of Swambhuva Manu, he's going back to his Brihaspati. So I was explained before, and explained earlier in Srimad Bhagavatam. The current Manu, Chakshasha Manu, they now reign over the entire universe from the subtle area in Brahma Loka called Brahmavarti. Right, but here on the earth there was two. There's the Brahmarti on this planet, and the celestial Brahmarti. If it's actually the same place or not, one's the subtle form of it, one's the gross form of it. But that's where Swayambhuva Manu reigned over the earth and the entire universe from this specific area. And so I wanted to know what Kapila Dev was actually saying about the spiritual soul. Because he arranged the Sankhya philosophy is arranged in a way where there's it's just like in Bhagavad Gita: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, the false ego. So we have 8 elements. The 5 knowledge acquiring senses, right? Sight, sound, taste, touch, smell, and then there's the 5 working senses. So what do we say? Arms, legs, evacuation area. Seeing this, what's the fifth one? What's that? Is it eyes? Our working senses? Eyes is working sense too, and knowledge acquiring sense. Yeah, because arms, hands, and Bhagavad Gita states that these senses they're grouped about the mind according to our karma. Right. So when we have mind, intelligence, philosophy, goes the subtle elements, the subtle body. So now we're talking about 8, 10. So there's 18 plus 3, 21. And then there's the spiritual soul, and there's the Paramatma. There's also the karma of the living entity and the 3 modes of material nature. Right. And they're arranged in well, I want to know what Kapila Muni was actually saying about the spiritual soul, because he describes the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's verses where he's describing somewhat, it's achyuta and infallible, where the living entities are fallible. Achyuta, one is achyuta, one does not fall down, is eternal, has an eternal form. He is the supreme object, worshipful object for all persons. And it's to this supreme person that devotional service of bhakti yoga should be performed. It's explaining as the spiritual soul as being the eternal spiritual spark of Brahman, as also being Sat Chit Ananda, composed of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. It's also the supreme person of Godhead is a form also of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. But we're small particles of that specific entity, the supreme entity. And it's within that we engage in a loving, devotional relationship. And Prabhupada was saying that that's just the natural thing. One gets a dog or gets a cat or something. He has a propensity to serve, right? So his propensity isn't engaged in the proper way, then because that's our nature, then they'll get a dog, they'll get a cat. And then that's exactly what's happening. They're going to the dogs and cats. But they say there's some person, there's a politician, and it was revealed or acknowledged or somehow or other they had detected that this person actually took birth as a dog somewhere in Switzerland. Like that. So let's see what else. So I've been listening to some lectures, and some of these are really very highly scientific. And there's another lecture to I guess he was talking about like the 888 rule. Oh yeah, he was talking about our practical devotional service. So he was saying work hard for Krishna for 8 hours, study for 8 hours, and then rest and recreation for 8 hours. So he had the 888 rule. So that was kind of interesting. I want to brush up on that video. It's a video on third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam about Lord Kapila's instructions. Oh, and what it actually really, when I did the search, ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada, Lord Kapila's teachings. So they broke it down into some categories where Kapila Devi is explaining material nature, he's explaining liberation, he's explaining the process of how to break out of material illusion, or to go back home, back to Godhead, liberation, explaining the process of devotional service, the explanation of the science of the soul in but in combination as the material energy, the threefold miseries, the sufferings of the material energy, the effects of karma. There's karma, akarma, and vikarma. So there's karma in the making, karma that is fructified, and there's the process of eradicating your karma. Right. So there's So I believe V karma. So akarma is sinful activities, and V karma is becoming purified or free from your karma. So then that's the prerogative of the devotee and the unmatched parallel excellence of devotional service is that unless you're specifically involved in devotional service, you're a devotee, you can't purify your heart. If you're a yogi, that's what Prabhupada was stating, that the Mayavads, the Vedantas, they failed to purify their own hearts and the hearts of their disciples. And they were talking about in one case how the spiritual master, he transferred his mystic cities to his disciple. And then he said, oh, it's all finished. And he was exhausted. So they're saying this isn't spiritual, this is material, that he's now exhausted and he's devoid of mystic cities because he gave his powers to his disciple. So he said that that's not the way that the spiritual atmosphere works. Actually, 1 + 1 still equals 1, and -1 - 1 still equals 1. The Prabhupada was talking about that. I think it was in Bhagavad Gita or where he explains that on the absolute platform, the absolute nature, that when Krishna, he doesn't become fragmented. When he expands himself into so many different types of energies, and so many different jivas, and so many of the 8 material elements, the Mahat Tattva expansions in the universes, that he doesn't become fragmented. In fact, what is it? It's described as the supreme autocrat, where he's the cause of all causes. And as explained in Brahma Samhita, that he first put everything into motion, and through his agencies such as Maya or Durga, the external material energy, Shiva, Brahma, the demigods, they're carrying everything out under his orders, under his directions, just perfectly, as we get just the right amount of sunshine, just the right amount of rain. But sometimes there's an off balance, especially when there's a predominant rise of irreligion. So then there'll be some disturbances, some natural disturbances. But everything is under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The seasonal changes, and the day and the night, and the agriculture that's dependent upon the rainfall and sufficient rainfall, and have a sufficient water, streams, rivers. I guess right now, at the present moment in Kali Yuga, every stream and river in the entire world is polluted. Right? Have you heard that? So, yeah, we can pray to be Krishna conscious and purify the atmosphere, and go back home, back to Godhead. Were there any questions or comments or points of discussion? You have a question?
It was a nice class.
Oh, thank you.
Class. I was wanting to go back and talk about I would that you were talking with the splitting the day into 3 sections, 8 hours for work, 8 hours for study, and then 8 hours for recreation and rest. So I was just wondering if you could go into detail about that. Do you remember anything that you heard?
I only just skimmed that video for right now. I put in my watch later list. I didn't have time for it.
Do you know who gave that class?
Actually, I don't, but I can post it in the WhatsApp. Yeah. I think it was like a Bhakti Sashtra class on Srimad Bhagavatam and third canto. But yeah, it was an interesting video. It had some practical instructions for our devotional service. How to actually really apply things. Prabhupada was saying, when you see a tree, just don't see a tree, but see Krishna's energy. So it's water, air, ether, mind, to earth, right? And there's a spiritual soul, and the Paramatma is there, right? And we can understand why certain living entities have taken the birth of plants and trees, right? But so they were telling me, people were telling Prabhupada, well, what's wrong with being a dog? Or somebody's telling me a tree is suffering. Why is a tree suffering? I thought a tree would be happy. I'm going to mean like just the treeness of the tree. If the tree's an illusion too, the tree thinks he's happy, well, he's really an illusion. Right. What's wrong with being a dog? It's a dog's life. Prabhupada's going, look at our society. They're prepared to become dogs and trees in their next life, and they don't think there's anything wrong with it. So they're asking me, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with being a dog or a tree? What's wrong with the whole process of the recycled spiritual soul, passing through 8,400,000 species of life, just riding in the material world? One living entity is food for another. So one praying living entity also is being preyed upon. Somebody's following and watching them, and they're following and watching somebody else. So we're in the material world, just like animal human civilization. The main principle is enviousness. But I'll post that video on the WhatsApp, because I think it probably has pretty good information in that. All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, Shrima Bhagavatam class, Key Joy.